Chapter 50-36. If the whole Wooling unites to deal with Carefree Villa, you can't beat everyone with your fists. The poison I developed now is not poisonous enough. How can it help you? Mom, don't worry. I'll solve this matter right away. I promise they will be obedient and won't dare to make trouble. If they make trouble again, I'll go there twice more. Tangua sat in the chair and tapped the table with her fingers. I just received the news that those people are going to choose the leader of Wooling in order to suppress me. Tang Wenwan was even more worried when she heard that. She wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Tangua. I'm going to take people down the mountain tomorrow to deal with this matter. Then let's go together. Tang Wenwan also felt that this matter needed to be dealt with. Although the poison she developed was not poisonous enough, it could help. It was the Wooling that couldn't tolerate them. If they could survive in this world only by being evil people, she could also be an evil person. Red envelope, reading benefits are coming. You have up to 888 cash red envelopes to be drawn. Follow Weishin's public account to draw red envelopes. Since Mom wants to go, I'll take you with me. Tangguo felt that Tang Wenwan should go down the mountain to get some fresh air after staying in Carefree Villa for so long recently. She also asked the system to observe her father's situation. It was said that after the other party got the secret book of martial arts, he secretly hid in the mountain and practiced hard every day. He appeared once a year to see Tang Wenwan. Tangguo asked someone to send him a letter before, telling him not to worry about Tang Wenwan's situation and to practice hard, so he didn't come out again. Mo Xian knew that Tangguo was going down the mountain tomorrow, so he quickly came to find her. Sister Guo, you have to take me with you. Silly boy, you are my follower. Of course, I have to take you with me. Mo Xian was relieved when he heard that. He quickly gave the snacks in his pocket to Tangguo. My mother has just developed it. Have a taste. Tangguo ate a piece and felt it was good. Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu have always lived in Carefree Villa. Tangguo specially allocated a yard for them to live in and told them to stay as long as they wanted. Because of Mo Xian's previous experience, the two of them felt that they owed him too much. As such, the two of them gave off fatherly and motherly love every day, surrounding Mo Xian. The next morning, Tangguo went down the mountain. Other than Mo Xian and Tang Wenwan, Mo Qingjiang and Jiang Yuyu also went with them. Although they knew that Tangguo was very good at martial arts, even better than them, they were still a little worried. They were also very curious about how Tangguo would deal with this matter. In the carriage, Tangguo was flipping through a booklet. Seeing her reading so seriously, Tang Wenwan asked, Guo, what book are you reading? Mother, I'm not reading a book. What's that? Tang Wenwan asked curiously. Her Guo, was like a little adult. As a mother, she still needed her daughter to protect her. She felt a little ashamed. Tangguo replied, This is a list of the people we are going to visit next. A list? Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu also looked at each other. What list? They only knew that this little girl was super powerful. Now she took over Carefree Villa. Last month, she summoned her to Carefree Villa in the city and beat all the shopkeepers. Now Carefree Villa seemed to be gradually prosperous again. It did not decline because of the disappearance of Eternal Boat. This is the list of the people who agreed to elect the chief of Wooling and unite the people of Wooling to suppress me. Today, we will visit the Chens first. The Chens are the closest to here. Let's go to Master Chen's place. I will reason with him and tell him not to mix with those Wooling mobs. Chapter 50-37. Tang Wenwan said, I'm afraid they won't listen. Few people are not tempted by the treasures left by your grandfather. Then I'll talk to him nicely. Patriarch Qin will definitely agree. Tang Guo said firmly. Tang Wenwan was not optimistic, but she supported her daughter's decision. What if there were a few people in Wulin who still had a conscience? Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu felt that things were not simple. Mo Xian knew that things were not simple. Reason. He didn't think that Tang Guo was simply going to reason. When they arrived at the Chen's house, what Tang Guo did proved his guess. Coming out of the Chen's house, Tang Wenwan couldn't help touching Tang Guo's head. Guo, is this what you mean by reason? He didn't listen and didn't know what to do, so I had to beat him up. Tang Guo wiped her hands. Mom, let's go to the next house. Mo Xian was still holding a box, which was the compensation for Tang Guo's mental reputation and mental damage from the Chen's house. Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu's eyes were twitching. This little girl was really powerful. No wonder their son was willing to be a follower and didn't want to go back with them. Seeing that the boy was willing and admiring, the couple felt that they could never take their son back in this life. This little girl was less than 10 years old and she was already so powerful. What would happen when she grew up? The second house that Tang Guo went to was the Zhang's house. Patriarch Zhang knew that Tang Guo was powerful, but he didn't understand why she came to visit in person. Patriarch Zhang, I'm here to tell you one thing. I'm talented, but I don't practice the so-called magic arts. Don't blindly participate in the Wulin Alliance leader meeting. Tang Guo sat in the chair with a strong momentum. It was hard to believe that she was a little girl less than 10 years old. Sitting beside her was actually a 10-year-old young master. Sitting further away were Tang Wenwan, Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu. This combination looked very strange. There were clearly adults here, but the one making the decision seemed to be a child. Zhang Jiazhou still didn't look at Tang Guo. Instead, he looked at Tang Wenwan. Miss Tang, how can you bear to let a little girl less than 10 years old practice demonic arts? What you're doing is too cruel. Do you know how many young boys and girls have to be sacrificed to cultivate the demonic arts? Tang Wenwan laughed when he heard this. This laugh was extremely sarcastic. The roots of the people in the martial arts world must be rotten. For the sake of her father's secret martial arts manuals and treasures, she actually slandered a child who was not even 10 years old. If it weren't for Guo's extraordinary talent, she would have fallen into someone else's hands and led a miserable life. Previously, she had thought that it was a bit too much to visit them one by one and beat them up. Now, she felt that she had not gone overboard at all. In fact, she had gone a little too easy on him. Guo, do whatever you want. No matter what you do, Mother will support you. Tang Guo stood up. Okay. She walked in front of Zhang Zhu, and under Zhang Zhu's incredulous gaze, she slapped him on the mouth. You really don't know how to talk. Just seal it up. Zhang Jiazhou wanted to resist, but he didn't expect that Tang Guo would directly hit his acupoints. Other people also wanted to come up, but Mo Xian had already come to Tang Guo's side to help her block the attackers. Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu were used to this pattern. As long as the two were safe, they would not intervene. Tang Guo slapped Zhang Jiazhou many times. Do you think you can really deal with me by joining forces? If you're not afraid, just come. If you want my grandfather's treasures, just say it. You even framed me for using young boys and girls to practice demonic arts. If I hear you say this again in the future, I will sew your mouth up. It won't be as easy as beating you up. You slandered me and caused me to lose my reputation and spirit. Hurry up and compensate me. Otherwise, I will sew your mouth up. Chapter 5038. The head of the Zhang family thought that Tang Guo wouldn't dare, but Tang Wenwan gave her a needle and thread. When he saw the embroidery needle in Tang Guo's hand, he gave in. He had to pay for Tang Guo's loss and watch her leave with a swollen face. Tang Guo followed the order of the list and went to each family. 3 days was enough time for everyone in the martial arts world to learn of Tang Guo's whereabouts. The families that hadn't been harmed by Tang Guo all went to Bai Yi. After all, Bai Yi was the one who had suggested that they join forces to fight against Tang Guo. Bai Yi was silent too. He couldn't think of a solution. But he still said, "I can only say that her personality changed after she started practicing the demonic arts. Now that she dares to bully us, you can imagine what kind of life she will have in store." Bai Yi's words made the martial arts people worried. Yes, if Tang Guo was invincible, there wouldn't be a place for them to live. Before they could come up with a plan, Tang Guo came. What else do you want to do?" As soon as the martial artists saw Tang Guo, they shouted impolitely. In fact, they were also afraid of her. Tang Guo slowly walked inside. She saw the people holding their weapons and looking at her with fear. She smiled. They were so cowardly, and they still wanted her grandfather's treasure. "Bai Yi, I spared your life, but you didn't know what was good for you. Now you are spreading rumors and ruining my reputation." Bai Yi was calm, but if you looked closer, you could see the hatred in his eyes. He wanted to strangle Tang Guo. Because of Tang Guo, he had become a useless man. Now, he had to use the other martial arts people to deal with her. If you don't want people to know, don't do it. You practice the demonic arts, and who knows how many children you have killed. You have done evil, and you cannot be forgiven. We are martial arts people, and we have to work together to fight against you, you have done a lot of evil recently. It proves that practicing the demonic arts has changed your personality. If you still have a shred of conscience, you'd better cripple your own martial arts as an apology." Tang Guo laughed. "You're a useless person, but you're still quite good at dreaming." She walked in front of Bai Yi. The martial artists around Bai Yi tried to stop her, and so did Bai Yi's subordinates. Just as Tang Guo was about to make her move, someone else came from outside. She turned around and saw that they were two neutral factions in the martial arts world. The cultivators of the Flying Immortal sect were all Daoist priests. They usually didn't participate in the struggles of the martial arts world and had their own small circles. They weren't interested in the treasures of Tang Guo's grandfather. The Clear Heart sect was a Buddhist sect. Like the Flying Immortal sect, it didn't participate in any fights. Unless it was necessary, these two sects would not step in. "Young benefactor, please have mercy. Don't do evil again." Master Xianxiang took 2 steps forward. He was in front of Tang Guo in a flash. He placed Bai Yi and the others behind him. Before Tang Guo could speak, another person appeared in front of her. She was dressed like a Daoist priest. It was the leader of the Flying Immortal sect, Su Lingyi. "Are you two here to stop me?" Tang Guo asked. Xianxiang and Su Lingyi looked at each other and nodded. Su Lingyi said, "There are enough problems in the martial arts world. Little girl, you should just let it go. There is no need to kill everyone." "Oh. Did I kill a single person?" Tang Guo asked back. Did these two have nothing better to do than to eat their fill and come here? Su Lingyi frowned. "Are you going to deny what you've done?" Chapter 5039. My favorite thing to do. Tang Guo looked at Su Lingyi and Xianxiang. "You think I'm doing evil, and that's why you're here to stop me?" Xianxiang smiled and nodded. "Yes, little benefactor. You are very intelligent. You should stop doing evil. If you want to say that I'm evil for beating them, then they deserve it," Tang Guo said coldly. Su Lingyi said, "Then what about the fact that you're using virgin boys and girls to practice? Isn't that evil?" "Taoist Su, when have you ever seen me use virgin boys and girls to practice?" Have you ever heard of a family losing a virgin boy or girl? Are the two of you brainless, or do you only have pig brains? You believe whatever others say without any evidence? I beat them up because they slandered me. They damaged my reputation and my spirit. I'm here today to solve this problem. I heard that it was Bai Yi who spread this rumor. You know that I have a grudge against him. I'm here today to ask him why he's spreading this rumor. And you too, you don't know what's right or wrong. You don't have any evidence. You just come up and slander me. The two of you have damaged my spirit and my reputation. You two think I'm doing evil today, so you're here to stop me. But why didn't you see them when they were doing evil? When they were bullying an orphan and a widow, why didn't you stand up for them? My mother is a weak woman who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Just because of my grandfather's illusory treasure, she's being robbed by these people. Why don't you come out and stop her? They can bully a weak woman, and I'm just trying to get justice for myself. I just beat them up, and they're not going to be nice. These people have done a lot of evil to steal martial arts manuals. Why didn't you stop them? It's because they bully the weak and fear the strong. It's because there are so many of them that you're afraid. What do you mean you're an elite? What do you mean you don't care about fame? I heard that the Flying Celestial sect has a lot of martial arts manuals and books. Look at how many people in the martial arts world need them. Why don't you give them to them? There's also your Clear Heart sect. Don't you also have some absolute arts of the Clear Heart sect? Since Master Xuanxiang is so benevolent, why don't you contribute all of your Clear Heart sect in order to settle the dispute in the martial arts world as soon as possible? Su Lingyi and Xian Xiang were speechless. Today's matter has nothing to do with your two sections. Mind your own business. Speaking of which, all the sects present here have made things difficult for my mother. It is only right and proper for me to seek revenge from them. What are you still standing there for? Get out of the way. Tang Guo's words stunned everyone. Especially Xian Xiang and Su Lingyi, they simply couldn't refute it. They really couldn't produce evidence that she used virgin boys and girls to practice martial arts. As for what Tang Guo said about Tang Wenguan, their ears were red. They really adhered to the principle of less trouble than more trouble. Tang Wenguan alone could not change the general trend of the martial arts world, so they did not ask. After being pointed out by her, they wished they could find a hole to crawl into. After hearing Tang Guo's roar, they subconsciously moved away from her. Mo Xian quickly ran over and squeezed the two out of the way. He walked with Tang Guo. I will deal with Bai Yi first. Are you going to protect him? Tang Guo looked at the martial arts people. When the martial arts people saw that Su Lingyi and Xian Xiang had moved away, they quickly moved away as well. If the two of them couldn't do anything about it, they couldn't defend Tang Guo for a cripple. Tang Guo walked in front of Bai Yi. Bai Yi quickly called for his men to stop her, but they couldn't stop her. Tang Guo sealed their pressure points. She walked in front of Bai Yi and sealed his pressure points, too. You said that I used virgin boys and girls to practice martial arts. Where is the evidence? Bai Yi said stubbornly, why would you leave evidence? That's what you did. Mo Xian silently handed an embroidery needle to Tang Guo and threaded the thread. When Bai Yi saw this, his pupils shrank. What is she doing? I think it would be better to sew your mouth shut. Chapter 50-40. Everyone thought Tang Guo was just trying to scare Bai Yi. Even Bai Yi thought so. There were so many people there, and they couldn't just stand by and watch Tang Guo do something so evil. Little miss, why do you have to do this? If you can forgive someone, you should forgive them. You are so strong now. Why don't you let go of your past hatred? There is no need to kill them. Xian Xiang didn't want to see what was going to happen next, so he tried to persuade her. Tanguo stopped and looked back at Xianxiang. Then let me ask you something. Can you give away all of Clear Heart's books, and even your home to everyone in the martial arts world? If you can't, then don't say anything. Keep your mouth shut and don't be so generous. Xianxiang looked troubled. Everyone was looking at him strangely, and he felt his face burn. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything. Su Dao leader, what do you think? Xianxiang couldn't say anything to Tanguo, so he turned to Su Lingyi. But he was disappointed. Su Lingyi shook his head. He didn't know what to do. If you two want to stop this, you have to give your sex books to the martial arts world. If you want me to forgive him, why don't you ask the entire martial arts world to forgive my mother? Tanguo's words made the two of them unable to move. They could only watch as she stabbed the needle into Bai Yi's lips. Bai Yi screamed in pain, but he couldn't move. The others could only watch, but no one tried to stop her. I'll talk. When Tanguo finished 2 stitches, Bai Yi couldn't take the fear anymore. He started to moan. I don't want to hear it anymore. Tanguo kept stitching. She didn't even blink. She was very slow, and no matter how much Bai Yi begged, it was useless. If I hear anyone say anything bad about me, my mother again, I will sew their mouths shut, just like you. Coming from a little girl who wasn't even 10 years old, it was scary enough to make everyone's scalps go numb. And those of you who keep talking about morality and telling me to be kind, I'm telling you to give away all your wealth to help the poor. That's the only way you have the right to say something like that. And what about revenge? Who said something like that? Why don't you try it? Let your disciples be killed by others, and you don't care. If you can do it, then say it again. Xianxiang, and Su Lingyi understood that the last sentence was meant to mock them. To be honest, they had lived for decades, but they had never suffered such a great loss in the hands of anyone. A little girl who was not even 10 years old had actually rendered them speechless. However, her words indeed made them not dare to say anything more. Because they couldn't do what she said. Tanguo sewed up Bai Yi's mouth. The needle and thread were very close, and it was very neat. It was like a work of art. If you like coming to crusade against me, then go ahead. But before you come, you have to think about what your purpose is. Is it really because I'm practicing demonic arts, or do you want to defeat me and obtain the secret martial arts manuals in my hands? Even if you get the book, you won't be able to practice it as well as I have. There are geniuses in this world, but there are also idiots. Mother, let's go back. Tang Wenwan held Tanguo's hand and said, okay. No one dared to stop Tanguo. In fact, they were already thinking about retreating from the fight against Tanguo. After Tanguo left, everyone unsealed Bai Yi's pressure points. Chapter 50-41. After Bai Yi removed the thread from his mouth, it was a bloody mess. He cried and begged Xianxiang and Su Lingyi for help. He begged them to help him get rid of Tanguo, the witch who practiced demonic skills. This time, Xianxiang and Su Lingyi didn't listen. They looked at him strangely. You said she practiced demonic arts. Is that true? Su Lingyi asked. You better tell us the truth. Bai Yi paused and said, of course it's true. Then why did you want to dig up Hero Tang's grave? Xianxiang asked. When they arrived, the news had spread like wildfire. Bai Yi's face looked terrible. How did this get out of hand? You want us to help you get revenge, don't you? Su Lingyi said. That's a good plan. You've embarrassed me for most of my life, and now you want us to help you. In your dreams. Although little Miss Tang's martial arts are very strong, I observed her inner power. It is very pure. She cannot have practiced demonic arts. You must be trying to get revenge and get Hero Tang's treasure. That's why you said that, right? Xian Xiang said. In the future, I won't get involved in these things. Bai Yi wanted to stop them, but they left without looking back. When the other people in the martial arts world saw this, they knew they couldn't do anything to Tanghua, so they left quickly. They couldn't do anything to a little girl, but she had a few people with her. After Tanghua went down the mountain and caused a ruckus, the martial arts world's plan to punish her was abandoned. It was as if they had chosen to forget about it. Tanghua didn't go down the mountain again. She stayed in Carefree Villa, taking care of the business there. She even brought Sun Jiushan with her. Sun Jiushan had never dreamed of this. Even when everything was peaceful, Sun Jiushan still practiced hard. He didn't fall behind. With his hard work and Tanghua's help, Sun Jiushan's progress was good. He kept improving. Tang Wenwan's research on the Poison Sutra was getting more and more powerful. She was no longer the weak woman who couldn't even trust a chicken. Tanghua also found a medical book for her, hoping that Tang Wenwan could combine medicine and poison. Poison could kill people, medicine could save people, and it could also help her recuperate. Tang Wenwan and Sun Jiushan basically lived the life of an immortal couple. While Tanghua was practicing martial arts, Mo Xian didn't stop either. He followed her every day. Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu couldn't stay still. After asking for Mo Xian's opinion, the two of them went out to play again. However, they would come back to visit Mo Xian once every 6 months, which made Mo Xian very satisfied. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. At this time, Tanghua had already grown up and was no longer a child. Mo Xianyu had also grown into a jade-like young master. After many years of getting along with each other, the two naturally got married when Tanghua was 20 years old. Over the years, Tanghua rarely walked in the martial arts world and never took the initiative to bully others. However, there were often people who took the initiative to make trouble in Carefree Villa. In the end, they were all beaten out by her. Gradually, no one dared to provoke her because no one knew how powerful she was. At this time, the martial arts world was just like when Master Tang was still alive. No one dared to provoke Carefree Villa. Prince Abe, who was far away in the grassland, had been keeping an eye on the martial arts world in the Central Plains. He was very glad to know the development of these years. Fortunately, he didn't do anything excessive to Tang Wenwan. Chapter 5042. Tang Wenwan's body has been recuperated by Tanghua, so it is not a problem for her to live a long life. Tanghua counted her lifespan with her fingers. She should still have more than 10 years to live. When she leaves this world, Tang Wenwan and Sun Jiushan will have to take care of themselves. Even if she can leave a few paper puppets, they still need to deal with many things by themselves. Therefore, Tanghua began to plan for the future. One thing was a pleasant surprise for her. Tang Wenwan was pregnant because of her good health. Tang Wenwan was only in her teens when she had Tanghua. Now she was only in her 30s. With the help of Tanghua, it will not have a great impact on her body. What was even more surprising was that Tang Wenwan finally gave birth to a pair of twins. Looking at her little brother and sister who were still in their infancy, Tanghua was already thinking about how to raise them in the next 10 years. The two babies seemed to have sensed the difficult life in the future, so they started crying in front of Tanghua. Seeing this, Tang Wenwan quickly comforted Tanghua. They may be hungry. Well, mother, you feed them. When they are full, I will come to see them. Mo Xian accompanied Tanghua to leave the room. Seeing her thoughtful face, he couldn't help but put his arm around her shoulder and asked, what are you thinking about? I am thinking about how to teach my brother and sister so that they can manage Carefree Villa well and protect father and mother. Mo Xian's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. why do you have to think so far ahead? Grandpa Shanshan told my fortune that my lifespan is very short and I may not live past 40 years. I am preparing for a rainy day. If that is the case, Carefree Villa can only be handed over to my brother and sister. Mo Xian, Grandpa Shanshan can also be wrong. Mo Xian believed it. Even if he had never seen Grandpa Shanshan, what happened to Tang Guo was so amazing that he had no choice but to believe it. Tang Wenwan was the kind of genius that could not be found in a million people. As the saying goes, extreme wisdom is bound to be hurt. God may be jealous of her power and shorten her lifespan. At the thought of this, Mo Xian panicked. Guo let's not talk about this. Let's talk about something happy. Tang Guo felt Mo Xian's fear, but there was no other way. She could change many things, but the only thing she could not change was her own lifespan. Every world could only increase her lifespan by 20 years at most. In fact, she did not care about her lifespan. She was used to it. Life and death was not a terrible thing. But the people around her would always be sad because of her. This should be the price one had to pay for constantly traveling through time and space. Fortunately, the person beside her had always been the same person. She knew that the other party had purposely erased her memories, and she didn't want to find out why. One day, he would be able to leave this place and everything would become clear. Ah, Xian, you've been staying at Carefree Manor all these years. Are you bored? Was it? Mo Xian asked in confusion. As long as Guo is here, even if it's a dark place, I won't feel bored. It was it? Was to play was. Mo Xian hurriedly said, yes. Guo do you really want to bring me out for a tour? Of course, we will go out for 2 years. When my brother and sister grow up, I will come back to teach them. The next day, Tang Guo and Mo Xian went down the mountain. Chapter 50-43. In these 3 years, Tang Guo and Mo Xian had been to many places. It could be said that they had traveled all over the country. Even the country where Abu was from, Tang Guo and Mo Xian had revisited the place. That day, when Abu first saw the two of them, he wanted to slip away. He had already recognized who the two of them were. But when Tang Guo called him, he did not dare to run away. He hurriedly greeted Tang Guo enthusiastically. Tang Guo did not make things difficult for Abu. She stayed for 3 days and left. Her younger siblings were already 3 years old. She wanted to go back and teach them well. Mo Xian was also satisfied. Although time always passed quickly when he was with her, and a few years were not enough, he was already very satisfied that she could spend so much time just to be with him. Back at Carefree Manor, Tang Guo once again shut herself in and watched her younger siblings every day. On the first day she returned to Carefree Manor, Sun Ting and Sun Ling looked at her with fear. Later on, they were told that this was their big sister. The two of them then timidly went up to call Tang Guo. Tang Guo brought them a lot of fun things and coaxed them until they could not tell north from south. In her heart, she felt that their big sister was really nice. Under Tang Guo's coaxing, the two of them boarded the pirate ship and started to practice martial arts and learn how to read. Mo Xian also had some talents. He was proficient in the 4 arts. Under the guidance of the two of them, Sun Ting and Sun Ling slowly grew up. Every day, they were spurred by Tang Guo. They admired her and were also a little afraid of her. They had heard about their big sister's deeds since they were young. They knew that it was all thanks to this big sister that their Carefree Manor could be so peaceful. Although it was hard to get tired from practicing martial arts, the two of them did not slack off. As for Wenren Qin and Shangqing, the country became stronger under Wenren Qin's rule. Shangqing was the imperial husband and also the state teacher. He had a very good relationship with Wenrin Qin. If they were free, the two of them would still visit Carefree Manor. Time passed slowly like this. In a blink of an eye, another 10 years had passed. Tang Guo could clearly feel that she did not have much time left in this world. Fortunately, Sun Ting and Sun Ling's talents were not bad. Even if she immediately left this world, she was not afraid that Carefree Manor would be bullied. Sun Jiushan's martial arts had reached the level of a peerless master. It was not a problem for him to protect Tang Wenguan. Besides, Tang Wenguan himself was also a poison expert. Everything had changed. They would not be bullied anymore. Big sister, why do you want to hand over all of Carefree Manor's shops to us now? Sun Ting protested. Sun Ling hurriedly agreed, that's right, big sister, isn't it good for you to take care of it? I think I'm still lacking. I might not be able to manage it well. How do you know if you don't try? Ability comes from practice. Seeing Tang Guo's firm attitude, the two knew that it was useless to refute. They could only obediently accept the task assigned to them by Tang Guo. Thus, Tang Guo slowly handed over the authority of Carefree Mountain Villa to the two of them. As for the remaining time, she planned to spend it with Mo Xian and go sightseeing. This time, they played outside for a year and a half. One day, Mo Xian noticed that Tang Guo's face had become very pale. He understood that she had reached the end of her lifespan. Guo, let's go back. If they can't see you, they will be sad. Mo Xian said. After 5 days, Mo Xian brought Tang Guo back to Carefree Manor. Everyone who was familiar with her could not accept that she was going to die at such a young age. Especially Tang Wenguan. Her tears did not stop. She even said that she would use her life to exchange for Tang Guo's life. Chapter 50-44. At this moment, Sun Ting and Sun Ling knew why their elder sister was in such a hurry to let them manage Carefree Mountain Villa. The others also understood why Tang Guo was in such a hurry to cultivate the two of them. Perhaps she already knew that she wouldn't live long. Later, they learned from Mo Xian that Tang Guo had indeed said such a thing more than 10 years ago. She said that Grandpa Mountain God told her fortune, so she made preparations in advance. Mo Xian said, I don't know if she asked Grandpa Mountain God about my lifespan. Perhaps because she asked, she was very happy to make an appointment with me in the next life. The others didn't understand. Mo Xian called Sun Ting and Sun Ling in front of him. Ting Ling I'll have to trouble you to take care of my parents in the future. When Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu heard Mo Xian's strange words, they interrupted him and told him not to think too much. They even said that Tang Guo also hoped that he would live well. No, Guo won't force me to live. No matter what choice I make, she will support me. Moreover, I can feel that she is my life. If she's gone, I'll lose half of my life. If she's gone, my life will slowly disappear. Father, Mother, it's not that I can't figure it out, and it's not that I want to do something stupid. This is the fate between Guo and me. Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu didn't go out to play. They accompanied Mo Xian every day, afraid that something would happen to him. A few days later, they discovered a very strange thing. Mo Xian's aura became more and more ethereal, as if he was going to leave immediately. He was so light that people couldn't catch him. Until the last day, Mo Qing and Jiang Yuyu saw Mo Xian. At this moment, Mo Xian's gaze was a little unfamiliar to them. The aura on his body was strangely strong, but when he saw them, he restrained it completely. Xian, Jiang Yuyu shouted. She understood that Xian, was really going to leave this time. Mo Xian's indifferent gaze fell on the two of them. Thinking of the time he spent with the two of them, his calm gaze became warmer. Father, Mother, I'm going to find her. If I'm late, the time we meet in the next life will be delayed. Take care. I'm sorry, I can't stay to accompany you. Mo Xian took out a jade pendant and gave it to the two of them. This is a jade pendant. I know that the two of you have deep feelings for each other and even promised a next life. As long as you mix your blood and drop it, you can be husband and wife in your next life. Jiang Yuyu hugged Mo Xian and cried, Grandpa Mountain God, is it true? Xian, do you have an extraordinary background like Guo? Someone's a god, Grandpa. Grandpa Mountain God is fake. That's just an excuse. She doesn't want to cause too much trouble. However, Guo and I do come from the same place. She came here to change a tragedy, but I came here only for her. Xian, do you mean that you didn't die and lose other places? Jiang Yuyu grasped the key point. Mo Xian admitted, yes. Mother, you don't have to be sad. I'm not dead. I just went somewhere else. If fate wills it, perhaps we will meet again under different identities in the future. Jiang Yuyu somewhat accepted this setting. Her son didn't die. He went to another place. She didn't feel so sad. Her son was not an ordinary person, and so was her daughter-in-law. Were they immortals who came down from the heavens? If that was the case, she was even less sad. But she couldn't bear to part with them. Mo Xian left. Many years later, Sun Ting and Sun Ling were demolishing the house in Carefree Mountain Villa. They found a crippled Heng Zhou in a room. At this time, Heng Zhou didn't go crazy. He couldn't deceive the two siblings. Instead, he was tricked by the two siblings. Sun Ling said, Brother, this guy suffered in big sister's hands. I was wondering why he was so miserable. Sun Ting said, Then let's not repair his house. We can live here. After all, this is big sister's legacy. We can't destroy it. Sun Ling said, Yes, yes, yes. I'll get someone to call father and mother over. They will be very happy to see it. When Tang Wengyuan and Sun Jiushan saw Heng Zhou's miserable appearance, they felt very complicated. The two also accepted that Tang Gua and Mo Xian were immortals who came down to the mortal world. Therefore, they weren't surprised that Heng Zhou suffered in the hands of Tang Gua. Since it's Gua's legacy, let's leave it here. Tang Wengyuan said, Don't destroy it. Make sure that all the items here are intact. Heng Zhou heard this and begged for mercy. Unfortunately, it was useless. Tang Wengyuan walked out of the dark room with a smile on his face and tears in his eyes. It turns out that it's not my jinx who made those people unlucky. It's Gua who did these things behind the scenes. I understand. My martial arts manual must have been given to me by Gua. Sun Jiushan said. Chapter 50-45. Fuck. My past life, the life before that, and the life before that. Do I have to count up to now? Lin Yikai couldn't believe it. He was having fun, but he was pulled into this dark place by a system that told him that he had been a scumbag for 99 lifetimes. However, this big jerk of a man had someone who truly liked him in every lifetime. But as a peerless scumbag, he couldn't see the good in this person. Not only did he hurt her, but he also abandoned her. He even used her. After that, he patted his butt and left. Now, this so-called scumbag had modified System 978 and brought him here to appease the person who truly cared for him. He wanted to resolve the resentment in her heart and live a peaceful life with her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a next life. I think you're joking. Lin Yikai obviously didn't want to go back. He had lived such a carefree life. Who would be willing to waste energy and emotions on such meaningless things? He felt that feelings and sincerity were all bullshit. Those who liked him, weren't they all willing to do it? Since they were willing, what did it have to do with Lin Kai? They didn't live well because they asked for it. How could they blame him for being a scumbag? Since they knew he was a scumbag, why didn't they break up with him earlier? Lin Kai wasn't the type to force people. If they didn't want to get along, they could just separate. What he meant was, hurry up and get lost. In the end, those people thought he was a scumbag and even developed resentment. They wanted him to go back and resolve it. 978, you're crazy. I'm not going. I don't care where you came from. Hurry up and send me back. System 978, Lin Kai, you can't go back. You forgot that after you went out to sea, you were knocked over by the turbulent waves and fell into the sea. If you want to go back now, you'll only face your bloated corpse. To put it simply, you're already dead. You're a scumbag. If you don't do as I say, you won't have the chance to reincarnate. After 49 days, your soul will disappear from this world and become nourishment for the world. You've already been dead for a day. If you don't believe me, you can check again tomorrow. The power of your soul will weaken. Lin Kai didn't believe it. He felt that this strange system was lying to him. However, on the second day, he did feel a little weaker. For the next 5 days, he became weaker and weaker. He started to panic when he realized that he would never have the chance to reincarnate. In the 10th heaven, Lin Kai agreed to go back and resolve the grievances of those sincere people. After you accept this mission, the system will forcibly inject your sincerity towards them. You are a heartless person. If you don't inject your feelings into them, you won't be able to complete the mission. Remember, you have to work hard to win their hearts and make them willing to spend the rest of their lives with you. Otherwise, it means that the mission has failed. System 978 warned, you only have 3 chances to fail. If you don't succeed after 3 times, it means that you have lost the chance to reincarnate forever. You can only disappear from this world. Lin Kai said reluctantly, got it. Host, prepare to begin teleportation. Teleportation complete. You should first browse through the contents of this world so that you can figure out how to deal with it. Exchange good books. Follow VX's public account. If you follow now, you can receive cash red packets. Chapter 5046. Lin Kai browsed through the world storyline. His identity was the son of the Lin family, a well-known playboy. He knew how to eat, drink, gamble, and whore. He liked flirtatious and sexy women, and did not like the obedient and pure girls. His mission target was a very gullible and innocent girl who had lost both her parents but had a big family business. The daughter of the Tang family. Currently, the Tang family was being managed by a manager because she was too naive and could not do these things. The person who arranged all this was her grandfather. Her grandfather passed away last year and did not have time to arrange her marriage. In his previous life, he had tasted too many fiery red roses and saw a fresh little white flower. He suddenly became interested. Tang Guo was a very innocent girl. How could she resist the advances of a playboy like him? Soon, she fell into his hands. At first, he felt that it was very fresh. However, after 3 months, he was tired of it and did not want to be with her anymore. However, his family had been urging him to find a proper partner. So, he did not break up with Tang Guo. Instead, he chose to keep her hanging and even brought her to meet his parents. The two quickly got engaged and then got married. Therefore, the Tang family was taken over by the Lin family. This naive girl thought that Lin Kai was her true love, so she let the Lins take care of it. After getting married, he felt free. He was no longer forced to marry by his parents. His parents should be satisfied that he found a good wife. So, he went to have fun. This kind of thing could not be hidden from Little White Flower. He did not intend to hide it. Little White Flower looked at him with red eyes every day. She even asked him why he went out to find another woman. They quarreled and argued. In the end, Little White Flower wanted a divorce. Of course, his parents did not agree. His brothers gave him an idea. Make Little White Flower pregnant. That way, she would not have time to pester him. So, he did that. Little White Flower was too easy to coax. She saw that he did not go out and was dead set on him. A few months later, she was indeed pregnant. Then, he went to have fun again. He could not hide the fact that he went to have fun. Little White Flower went to find him and accidentally had a miscarriage. Perhaps he still felt a little guilty. After spending half a year with Little White Flower, he planned to make her pregnant again. But this time, Little White Flower didn't seem to be willing. She was cold to him and didn't like him like before. In his previous life, he was a very possessive person. If something that originally belonged to him was no longer his, he would be unhappy. Therefore, he used all kinds of methods to make Little White Flower feel sorry for him and care about him. With this cycle, Little White Flower also realized that Lin Kai was a trap and planned to escape from it. However, before she could do anything, she was diagnosed with an illness that was transmitted to her by Lin Kai. Lin Kai was a playboy by nature. It wasn't strange for him to accidentally get sick. This time, Little White Flower was truly in despair. What was even more hateful was that the outside world was spreading rumors that she was the one who went out to fool around and passed the disease to Lin Kai. In fact, no one in the circle believed her. Everyone was well aware of it. However, she could not accept such an outcome and chose to end her life by committing suicide. Am I such a scumbag in this world? Lin Kai touched his nose subconsciously. This girl is so good. Was I really blind in my previous life? I must find her and give her a happy future. System 978 did not say anything. As expected, emotions were still needed for the host to complete the mission without pressure. Red envelope reading, follow the public account. The highest amount of red envelopes from reading is 888 yuan. Otherwise, he was sure that this guy would hurt Tanguo again. Chapter 5047. What kind of scumbag is this Lin Kai? She was about to break up and he actually came back to coax her. Someone like the original owner who had lost all her family members didn't have much sense of security. It should be said that her personality wasn't perfect. It would be strange if she wasn't ruined by him. Tanguo had already finished reading the plot of this world. It could be said that among all the scumbags she had met, Lin Kai was definitely the best. There weren't many people as scumbags as him. This Lin family was also not good. They actually said that the original owner went out to get sick. Lin Kai was indeed selfish. He didn't care about the original owner at all. When he saw someone take the blame, he simply acquiesced. This kind of person actually had a girlfriend. How could he live well? Why wasn't he the one who committed suicide in the end? After the original owner died, Lin Kai got sick and stopped messing around. His illness was under control and he really stopped. He actually lived a good life. The current time was that the original owner and Lin Kai had only been dating for half a month. Fortunately, there was still time. The two of them didn't have any intimate relations. But according to the original plot, the two of them would live together in another month. For Lin Kai, this was the slowest speed. Because he felt that the original owner was a very pure and clean little white flower. It was the first time she tried something new, so she was more patient. When Lin Kai pursued the original owner, he really didn't leave any leeway. During those 2 months, he didn't fool around. It had to be said that this playboy's methods were really brilliant. Tang Group was managed by a manager. This was someone her grandfather hired. Since someone was doing it, Tangwa didn't plan to take over. The original owner opened a flower shop because she liked to stay in a place full of flowers. It didn't matter if the flowers could be sold or not. So the flower shop lost a lot of money every month. But she had a lot of money and could afford to lose money. Tangwa was sitting in the flower shop drinking tea, reading and petting her cat. In the flower shop, she also hired 2 assistants to help her deal with the trivial matters of the shop. The salary was also higher. Tangwa looked at the time. The scumbag Lin Ikai would pick her up for dinner at 6:00 in the evening. It would definitely be a very romantic dinner. There was still an hour before 6:00. She planned to greet the people in the group first. At 6:00 in the evening, Lin Ikai showed up at the familiar flower shop. When he reached the door, he already saw the girl sitting on the rattan chair. She was quietly flipping through a book. There was a cup of flower tea on the table, and on another rattan chair, there was a lazy cat lying on it. He tidied up his clothes and smoothed out the creases on them. A smile appeared on his face. Pursuing girls was a piece of cake. Wasn't this what he was best at? Lin Ikai. Zhou Lingwei, the assistant in the flower shop, saw Lin Ikai walk in and immediately greeted him enthusiastically. When she was about to call him, young Master Lin, Lin Ikai hurriedly gestured for her to be quiet, meaning not to let Tangwa know that he was here. Zhou Lingwei hurriedly nodded. There were 2 assistants in the flower shop. They worked in shifts. Today it was her, and tomorrow it was Zhang Kefi. Because the salary was good, it was easy. The boss didn't lack money, so she was very happy here. Give me a bouquet of flowers. Your boss loves lilies the most. Put a lily in the middle of a big bouquet of red roses. Lin Ikai lowered his voice and said, this means that those plain clothes can't compare to her freshness. It was a bit tacky, but girls liked it, especially this kind of little white flower. Zhou Lingwei, I know, young Master Lin. You're so good to the boss. Of course, I like Guogua the most. Lin Ikai said these words without any pressure. He, who was injected with emotions by the system, only had her in his eyes. Chapter 50-48. Guogua, it's time to get off work. Lin Ikai walked in front of Tangua and called out. Tangua closed the book and raised her head to look at Lin Ikai. Lin Ikai indeed had a mesmerizing face, especially that pair of peach blossom eyes that were particularly attractive. He was handsome, tall, and a rich second generation. He knew how to talk and coax. She thought that there weren't many girls who wouldn't be moved by him. Especially for someone like the original owner, who had lost all her relatives and suddenly had a person who cared for her meticulously. It was hard not to be moved. Lin Ikai had used this method to make the original owner fall step by step and finally walk on the road of no return. Why are you looking at me? Do you think your boyfriend is very handsome? Lin Ikai placed a bouquet of roses in front of Tangua. In the middle was a lily, for you. Tangua pretended to be shy and received it, thank you. Why is there a lily in the middle? This was the question the original owner had asked before. She would ask it again. She wanted to see what tricks this peerless big scumbag had up his sleeves. If the other party wanted to try something new, then she would make it so that the other party would never be able to taste it again. She would make him repeat the same mistakes. That illness, it would be better if he contracted it again. Because this flower is you. Lin Ikai said, the others are all ordinary. Look at how conspicuous you are in the middle. No matter how beautiful these roses are, no matter how red they can't hide your elegance. It's time to eat. Lin Kai changed the topic. If you miss the time to eat, it won't be good for your stomach. I remember the last time you missed a meal, you had a stomachache. Don't let it happen again. Tang Guo responded. She put the book to the side and patted the cat on the other chair. Then she picked up her bag and stood up. She naturally held on to Lin Kai's arm. Wei, I'll leave this place to you. Tang Guo said. After Zhou Lingwei replied, she and Lin Kai went out. She hadn't thought of how to deal with Lin Kai yet. People like Lin Kai didn't care about feelings at all. The original owner had done so many things, but she couldn't get the slightest bit of guilt from Lin Kai. Using feelings to retaliate against this person was useless. But this person had a bit of male chauvinism and possessiveness. If she wanted to give him a lesson, it wasn't impossible. First of all, if the other party were to spend so much effort only to realize that she wasn't moved at all, he would probably feel frustrated, but he wouldn't give up. Since she hadn't thought of it, she had to play with the cat to play. While Tang Guo was thinking about her plan, Lin Kai was also thinking about it. He glanced at the well-behaved girl beside him. In fact, he didn't like this type of girl. But after being injected with rich feelings by the system, he was now very fond of Tang Guo. His heart was full of her. Although his heart was full of her, Lin Kai's nature was still there. It couldn't be changed. But because of the mission, he wouldn't touch the red line that would make Tang Guo sad. After a happy dinner, Tang Guo refused to continue the activities according to the original owner's way. She said she wanted to go home and rest. Lin Kai didn't force her and sent her home. The next day, Lin Kai and Tang Guo continued to repeat their previous life. Tang Guo wasn't bored. This was a rare piece. This kind of repetitive life, after Tang Guo came, had been repeating for half a month. Lin Kai gradually became anxious. I'm obviously working so hard. Why doesn't she give me any response? She's not as good as me in my previous life. At that time, I could kiss her. At most, I can let her hold my arm. Chapter 5049. System 978 comforted, take it slow. Although you were the person in your previous life, the difference between you two is still quite big, and the methods you use are also slightly different. There's still a long time. Host, you should work harder. This should be the best way to get a girl. As long as you continue to give her your sincerity, treat her well, and give her a sense of security, she will definitely be dead set on you. This is too slow. I already can't wait to live a happy married life with her. I plan to ask her to go on some exciting rides. When the time comes, success will naturally follow. Where do you want to go to play? Tang Guo asked. Haunted house, adventure house, and roller coaster. How about that? I heard you say before that your grandfather didn't have time to take you to play these when he was alive, so you missed out on them. Now I'll help you make up for it. How about it? Tang Guo felt a little strange. The original storyline didn't have these things. Actually, these 2 days, she clearly felt that Lin Kai was a little off. How should she put it? In the original storyline, Lin Kai was supposed to have a gamer's personality. Even if he was pursuing the original owner, he still had some reservations. The affectionate look in his eyes was still very easy to see. Recently, after interacting with Lin Kai, she clearly felt that Lin Kai seemed to like her a lot. Just as Tang Guo was hesitating, the system's voice sounded in her ear. Host, Lin Kai has a system. He was just communicating with that system. Tang Guo communicated with the system in her mind. Connect to me. I feel that there's something wrong with him. It seems that the problem lies with the system. She's hesitating. She doesn't know if she'll agree. Lin Kai said to System 978, as long as she agrees, I guarantee that the journey will be very exciting. Other than the haunted house, adventure house, roller coaster. I've also arranged other rides. I guarantee that when the time comes, success will follow naturally. Tang Guo was silent. What was going on? Success will follow naturally. Lin Kai was seen through by a mission enforcer. From his tone, it didn't seem like a good person. Do as you see fit. As long as you can get her heart and live a happy life with her, then her resentment will disappear. It's all your fault for being such a scumbag in your past life. That's why you're in such trouble now. For an unrepentant scumbag like you wouldn't have been able to complete the mission without this system's help. 978 continued. Don't worry, I may not have other skills, but when it comes to pursuing women, I dare to say that I'm number 2. Capturing Guoguo's heart is only a matter of time. So, this person was still Lin Kai. Tang Guo understood a little. The other party must have been bound by a system and came back to correct his previous mistakes, win her heart, and eliminate her resentment. Lin Kai was still a scumbag. However, due to certain reasons, he had no choice but to come back to complete the mission. The system was afraid that he would fail, so it even injected emotions into him. From the looks of it, he didn't really want to make it up to him. He just had to do it for a reason, which was even worse than before. Guoguo, do you want to go? Tang Guo didn't answer. Lin Kai asked again, don't worry, I'll definitely accompany you when you go to those places. There won't be any problems. Okay, I'm a little scared of haunted houses. Brother Ikai, you have to be with me. When the time comes, you're not allowed to let go of my hand. Tang Guo said fearfully. At this moment, Tang Guo had already decided to teach Lin Kai a lesson. Don't worry, isn't it my duty to protect you? Lin Kai was overjoyed, let's go this weekend. How about it? Okay. Tang Guo said with anticipation. Chapter 50-50. On Saturday, Lin Kai came to Tang Guo's house early and waited downstairs. Tang Guo did not intend to let Lin Kai enter her house. She received a call from Lin Kai and said, Brother Lin Kai, wait for me for a moment. Okay, it doesn't matter. In Lin Kai's opinion, waiting for the other party was the most basic thing to do when pursuing a woman. However, he did not expect to wait for 2 hours. In his records, this had never happened before. As a gentleman, he could not rush, lest he left a bad impression on the other party. He did not know what went wrong, which made Tang Guo's feelings for him still remain very strange, and she had no intention to go further. This made him very anxious. If this continued, he would never be able to capture the other party's heart, and his mission would fail. In fact, after hanging up the phone, Tang Guo went back to sleep. Nearly 2 hours later, she got up, tidied up briefly, and went downstairs to see Lin Kai. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Tang Guo stood in front of Lin Kai and said apologetically, I was delayed by something. It doesn't matter. Wasn't it just 2 hours? As long as the other party was satisfied and moved by him, everything was worth it. It was not bad. Where shall we go first? Lin Kai asked. Tang Guo got into Lin Kai's car. After thinking for a while, she said, Can we go to the haunted house first? I've never been to a haunted house since I was a child. Okay, then let's go to the haunted house. When Lin Kai was about to drive, Tang Guo handed him a thermos cup. This is the coffee I diluted for you just now. Try it. Lin Kai was delighted and took the small thermos cup. The other party made coffee for him probably because she felt a little sorry for wasting so much time. It was also possible that she took him to heart. Thank you, it's the taste I like. I found that the coffee you made was to my liking. It seems that this is fate. Lin Kai said, I don't know when I'll be able to drink the coffee you make for me every day. Tangguo smiled shyly at Lin Kai. I will. As if. In your dreams. Dream on. Tangguo personally saw Lin Kai drink up all the coffee in the small thermos and smiled with satisfaction. I didn't expect her coffee to be so delicious. Lin Kai had already started the car and was complaining to System 978, in my previous life, I really didn't know how to enjoy life. This coffee brewing technique is simply top-notch. The only regret is that the taste is still a little lacking after being soaked in the thermos for a while. If you drink it right after it's made, the taste will be even better. System 978 heard Lin Kai's nagging and reminded him. Lin Kai could hear the urgency in System 978's voice. He was not an idiot. He could feel that System 978 was more concerned about whether or not Tangguo was sincere to him, rather, it was more concerned about whether or not Tangguo was sincere to him. Even if he knew the truth, he had already boarded this pirate ship. As long as he could complete the mission, it would not affect him. He really did not want to disappear from this world. An hour later, Lin Kai brought Tangguo to the city's largest haunted house. Don't worry, just stay by my side. I'll keep an eye on you. Lin Kai comforted her. Tangguo's eyes were filled with uncertainty, but she still nodded firmly. Okay. Chapter 50-51. Lin Kai had been to this kind of haunted house countless times, and he always brought girls with him. He liked it the most when those girls crawled into his arms in fear. For him, it was really a small scene. He had a feeling that after today, Tangguo would definitely be closer to him. However, when Lin Kai and Tangguo walked side by side into the haunted house, Lin Kai couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over his body. Looking at the haunted house in front of him, he couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. Those scenes gave people a very real feeling. Just as he was thinking this, he felt some kind of liquid leaking from above. The lights in the haunted house were not the dim red and green lights he imagined, but white lights. How could it be white lights? Lin Kai had this doubt in his heart. How could a haunted house use such daytime lights? It didn't have the atmosphere of a haunted house at all, okay? With this doubt, he looked at the place where the liquid was leaking from above, and half of his soul almost disappeared. Ah! Lin Kai screamed subconsciously, and was so scared that he staggered and fell to the ground. Because there was a bloody corpse hanging from the ceiling. The corpse was still staring at him, and its face was covered in blood. The blood seemed to be flowing endlessly, and it kept dripping down, and there was a trend of more and more blood. Some dripped in front of his eyes, and there was already a large pool of red liquid on the ground in front of him. There were also some that dripped onto his face because he had just fallen. Fake, this must be fake, how could it be real? This is fake, fake. He had lost his composure just now, and he didn't know if Tangguo would look down on him. Thinking of Tangguo, Lin Kai subconsciously looked at Tangguo beside him, and then he realized that in the empty white room, there was only him and the hanging corpse. This made Lin Kai's heart jump, and he quickly got up from the ground, and without caring about anything else, he shouted Tangguo's name loudly. He shouted as he ran, and finally ran out of that scary room. However, there was no response from Tangguo. Lin Kai remembered that he still had a system and hurriedly called 978 in his heart. The 978 that always responded to him was actually silent at this time. Something was not right. Why would 978 not respond to him? Could it be that this place is not a fake haunted house, and all the scenarios are real? Did he see a ghost? Just as Lin Kai was thinking about this, he ran into another room. When he walked in, he subconsciously looked at the ceiling. There was no corpse there. He let out a heavy sigh. However, before he could finish heaving a sigh of relief, he felt something dripping on his head again. He subconsciously touched the top of his head and opened his palm to take a look. What he saw scared him so much that his whole body trembled and his teeth turned white. His palm was bright red, it was blood. Lin Kai looked up and saw a bloody corpse hanging above the door. He was so scared that he almost fainted. He kept calling for 978, but there was no response. What Lin Kai didn't know was that 978 heard his panicked cry and comforted him. Chapter 50-52. No matter what 978 said, Lin Kai didn't seem to hear it. He kept screaming. "Aw, aw, aw, aw." His voice sounded very pitiful. What made 978 even more surprised was that Lin Kai even abandoned Tang Guo and ran into the haunted house by himself. Tang Guo stood where she was, looking a little confused. System 978, stupid teammate. Miss, your partner has left. Do you want to continue walking, or do you want the staff to send you out through the safe passage? Tang Guo was thinking about whether to find Lin Kai or let the staff send her out when a voice rang in her ears. She turned her head and saw a tall man standing beside her. When he saw her looking at him, the man said, "Your partner seems to be a little cowardly. Maybe he ran away because he was scared. Don't worry, there are surveillance cameras everywhere. If the staff finds something wrong with him, they will go and bring him out." Tang Guo was silent. Is that so? The staff should have found something wrong with Lin Kai. They should be chasing after him now to prevent any accidents. However, in Lin Kai's eyes, there was a group of psychopathic murderers chasing after him. Just as Tang Guo expected, after Lin Kai saw a few corpses, he heard terrifying footsteps coming from all directions. Before he could think, he saw someone rushing toward him with a knife. At this moment, he had forgotten that he was in a haunted house. He only wanted to run for his life. For a moment, he was chasing after the staff and even got into a fight. When Tang Guo heard the system's announcement, she said in her heart that when this was over, she would ask her manager to help invest in this haunted house and increase the staff's salary. She would have to trouble them today. I'm a little worried about him. I want to go and take a look, Tang Guo answered the man beside her. How could she miss Lin Kai's famous scene? Then come with me. We can take care of each other, the man said politely. If it doesn't work later, I'll ask the staff to send you there. All right. Tang Guo didn't say anything more and quickened her pace. If she didn't go now, she wouldn't be able to see Lin Kai's famous scene in a while. The man seemed to know that she was eager to find Lin Kai, and his pace was fast. He seemed to be very familiar with this place. Not long after, he led her to Lin Kai's location. At this moment, Lin Kai was holding an item to defend himself. He was yelling at the people around him not to go over and not to kill him. He looked like he had gone mad. There's something wrong with him. You have to restrain him to prevent him from harming the other customers. The man beside Tang Guo said, all of you, attack together. Imprison him and get him out of here first. Also, remember to call the ambulance in case his life is in danger. Then, Tang Guo saw Lin Kai being pressed to the ground by the haunted house's staff and tied up. He was still shouting not to kill him, and his expression was full of fear. Lin Kai was really desperate. In his eyes, he was caught by a murderous maniac and was about to be tortured by the other party. However, when he was taken out of the haunted house, his eyes suddenly became clear. Looking at the familiar scene, Lin Kai was stunned. Wait a little longer. The ambulance will be here soon. Lin Kai saw a tall and handsome man comforting Tang Guo, who was standing to the side. He wanted to break free from the shackles, but he realized that he was tied up tightly and couldn't break free at all. Guo Guo. Lin Kai called Tanghua. Are you okay? Tanghua abandoned the man who was talking and quickly ran to Lin Kai. Brother Ikai, how are you? Chapter 50-53. What's wrong with me? I'm fine. Lin Ikai thought of the previous scene. He couldn't say it out loud. Obviously, there was something wrong with the situation. It must be the haunted house. He would ask 978 what was wrong later. Everything just now was too realistic. Lin Ikai was really scared. His pale face still hadn't recovered. Brother Ikai, you don't look so good. Are you not feeling well? Let's go to the hospital for a checkup. We won't play other games today. How about it? Lin Ikai wasn't interested in continuing. Since Tanghua said so, he agreed. Before the ambulance arrived, Tanghua thought of the warm-hearted man from before and turned to ask for his name. Yi Tang. Tanghua. Tanghua introduced herself. Thank you for today. You're welcome. Is he your boyfriend? Of course, Yi Tang recognized Lin Ikai. He was the famous playboy in the city. He heard that he was interested in a good girl recently and hadn't gone out with his friends for a long time. This good girl was actually the orphan of the Tang family. Yi Tang frowned slightly. Of course, he didn't think that Lin Ikai had changed. He obviously wanted to try something new. Once he succeeded, this obedient girl would definitely be abandoned in the end. Yes. After receiving Tanghua's affirmation, Yi Tang only felt flustered. He didn't know why. She even thought of how great it would have been if they had met earlier. The ambulance arrived not long after. Yi Tang watched Tanghua and Lin Ikai get into the ambulance. He didn't look away for a long time. He didn't know if this good girl knew Lin Ikai's true colors. If she knew, would she still like someone like Lin Ikai? On second thought, she should know if Lin Ikai had tried to cover up his past. This Lin Ikai's method of coaxing girls was not ordinary. It might give people a feeling that a prodigal son had turned over a new leaf. Young master. It's fine. You guys can go back to your work. No, young master, I just received a call. It was from the manager of Tangkor. He said that he wants to invest in our haunted house project. Actually, the haunted house was still in the early stages of development, and the surrounding businesses were slowly investing in it. To Yi Tang, it did not matter even if no one invested. The haunted house project was just for fun. He was interested in these things. Tang Corporation. Is it the Tang group that only has a little girl left? Yi Tang didn't care at first, but he suddenly thought of Tanghua. From the looks of it, Tanghua did not seem to like haunted houses. So, why would the manager of Tangkor suddenly invest in haunted houses? How strange. You're in charge of contacting Tangkor. See what they need. Yi Tang was still confused. Why would the Tang family suddenly invest in his haunted house? Currently, there was not much traffic at the haunted house, so most people did not have high hopes for it. In fact, he wanted to build a real entertainment center here, so he needed a lot of money. If someone was willing to invest, of course, the more the better. Why? When Yi Tang returned home, he was also puzzled. Lin Ikai was Tanghua's boyfriend. He was scared by the haunted house, but Tangkor still invested in it. Was this love or enmity? Yi Tang rubbed his head. It was probably enmity, right? How could it be? Tanghua and Lin Ikai couldn't possibly have any enmity between them. She was a good girl. She shouldn't have such a black-bellied heart. It couldn't be that she was happy because the haunted house scared Lin Ikai, so she invested in his haunted house, right? Peak. Chapter 50-54. Lin Kai was scared out of his wits. After checking all the items in the hospital, all the indicators were normal. He didn't dare to say anything about what happened to him. He was afraid that he would be sent to a mental hospital and locked up. After checking that there was no problem, Lin Kai was discharged from the hospital. Brother Ikai, you should rest well for the next few days. Your mental state doesn't look right. Tang Guo comforted him, when you're better, we'll play other items. Lin Kai was already rejecting the haunted house in his heart. Okay, I'll take you on the roller coaster next time. Well, I haven't ridden a roller coaster in 10 years. Tang Guo continued, I'm looking forward to the next time we go together. In this moment, Tang Guo had already thought about what kind of life Lin Kai would have. Just let everyone think that he had lost his mind. She didn't think that the system called 978 really wanted Lin Kai to come back to repent. The main purpose was to let Lin Kai obtain her sincerity. Based on the fact that she had transmigrated through so many worlds, she guessed that if he obtained her sincerity, 978 should be able to obtain energy or her luck and fortune. So, that was a bad system. Got it. Lin Kai returned home and hurriedly called 978 and told him about the situation in the haunted house. 978, do you know what's going on? Is there a problem with that haunted house? I kept calling you before, did you not hear me? Now that he thought about it carefully, Lin Kai's back was covered in cold sweat. That haunted house might be the scene of a murder. I will never go to that place again. He was able to reincarnate into his previous life because he naturally believed in the legends of ghosts and gods. Thinking that what he saw was not an illusion, but an evil spirit, Lin Kai felt that he had to go to the temple to pray. Lin Kai went to the temple. This matter was found out by a few of his friends. They invited him to go out for a gathering. Recently, he wanted to take a break. He wanted to discuss with his friends how to deal with Tang Guo, so he agreed to the gathering. When he went to the private room, he found that his friends were all hugging a beautiful woman. He was used to this kind of scene and didn't refuse a woman to sit beside him. He didn't want others to think that he was strange. Anyway, he wouldn't do anything with those women. Lin Kai talked about his troubles and asked everyone to come up with ideas. Due to the incident at the haunted house, all his previous plans had been ruined. In the past few days, he had used the excuse that he was not feeling well to avoid looking for Tang Guo. He realized that if he didn't go, Tang Guo wouldn't look for him either. What did that mean? This meant that she didn't care about him very much. This was going to be difficult. Young Master Kai, aren't you being too serious? Do you really want to be with that good girl for the rest of your life? I've never seen you spend so much effort on a woman. Lin Kai pushed him away. Cut the crap. Come up with some ideas. How can I make her fall in love with me as soon as possible so that I can marry her? Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. Lu Sheng, since ancient times, what a beauty can't refuse is a hero saving the beauty. Arrange a hero saving the beauty, and I'm sure she will fall into your arms obediently. Lin Kai smiled bitterly. Didn't he have this idea before? Unfortunately, when he went to the haunted house, he didn't achieve anything and probably left a bad impression. How do you plan to do it? I'll help you find some gangsters to smash her flower shop. Young Master Kai, you can deal with it. This kind of scene is a little small, but it's very useful. Lu Xing continued. The method was a little despicable, but it worked. As long as he could get Tang Guo's heart, Lin Kai didn't care what methods he used. Anyway, he would treat her well in the future. Chapter 50-55. Oh, I know. Tang Guo was not surprised that Lin Kai agreed to this idea. After all, he was not a good person. If a good person could make friends with someone like Lu Xing, would he still agree to the other party's bad idea? She finally understood that Lin Yikai was still the same even with the system injecting feelings into him. His feelings for her were just feelings. He would not reject her. Being with her would not change his nature. Boss, Lin Gongzi hasn't been here for a few days. Did something happen between you two? At this time, it was afternoon. Tang Guo still maintained her previous habit of reading books and drinking coffee. There weren't many people who came to the flower shop. Zhou Lingwei finished some trivial matters in the flower shop and chatted with Tang Guo. Zhou Lingwei did not know what Tang Guo's real identity was, but she guessed that most likely she was a rich second generation. She was very envious. She often liked to talk with Tang Guo. The original owner did not mind this. It was a kind of communication between people. Zhou Lingwei had her own plans. She wanted to gain the trust of the original owner. In the future, she might be able to get in touch with the other party's circle and be liked by some rich second generation. She had a good appearance and was pretentious. She was not willing to live an ordinary life. In the original plot, Zhou Lingwei passed a lot of information to Lin Yikai. It could be said that Zhou Lingwei helped a lot in Lin Yikai's pursuit of the original owner. Lin Yikai was generous. He often came to the flower shop and bought the best flowers for Tang Guo, who was sitting in the shop drinking coffee and reading books. When he asked Zhou Lingwei about Tang Guo's hobbies, she told him everything. Of course, Lin Yikai gave a lot of tips. This was also the reason why she was willing to cooperate. When he met Zhang Kufei in the shop, Lin Yikai did not ask about Tang Guo's information. Zhang Kufei was a girl who did things carefully. No matter what Lin Yikai said, she did not reveal any information about the original owner to Lin Yikai. Of course, the original owner did not know these things. The original owner was really a very well-protected piece of white paper, very pure. Logically speaking, how could the heiress of Tangkor have such a personality? She had to start from her parents' death. Her parents had died in an accident. At that time, the original owner was at the scene. She had witnessed the tragic scene with her own eyes. It was an unerasable nightmare in her life. After her parents' death, her emotions had been unstable, and she had a hard time living a normal life. That disaster had caused her a lot of mental trauma, and she had to undergo a long period of psychological therapy. It's not convenient for young Master Lin recently. Tang Guo explained simply. If she guessed correctly, Lin Yikai would pick her up for dinner in the afternoon. When Zhou Lingwei heard how Tang Guo addressed Lin Yikai, she was stunned. She clearly felt that the boss's enthusiasm for Lin Yikai had decreased a lot. She even called him young Master Lin instead of brother Yikai. Tang Guo thought that anyone who saw Lin Yikai's crazy appearance in the haunted house would be cold. Recently, except for sending a message to Lin Yikai the next day, she did not take the initiative to talk to him. When Lin Yikai called her, she either picked up casually and responded with a few words or pretended not to hear. This was also the reason why Lin Yikai was very distressed. She had thought about it. If Lin Yikai came today, she would say that they were not suitable for each other and see how he would react. Chapter 50-56. At 6:00 in the evening, Lin Yikai appeared on time. According to the usual routine, he bought a large bouquet of flowers in Tang Guo's shop and sent it to her. Guogua, it's time to get off work. Let's go eat. I'm really sorry that I couldn't accompany you because of some personal matters recently. Tang Guo closed the book and shook her head lightly. It's okay. Tang Guo still walked out of the flower shop with Lin Yikai. She planned to talk to Lin Yikai in the car. After getting in the car, seeing that Lin Yikai was about to start the car, Tang Guo said, "Wait a minute, I have something to say." What's wrong? Lin Yikai was slightly stunned. He listened to Tangua's and didn't drive. He found that Tangua's seatbelt was not fastened properly. He looked a little annoyed. He was too careless. He didn't help her fasten the seatbelt. This would leave a bad impression. Lin Kai wanted to fasten the seatbelt for Tangua, but she refused. I just want to say something. You don't have to fasten it. I have to go back to the shop later. Lin Kai heard that Tangua's tone was not right. It was not as intimate as before. He said to 978 in his heart, 978, why do I feel that her love for me has faded? Originally, she didn't love you very much at this time. The development between you two is not as good as before. You didn't come to see her a few days ago. She is an extremely insecure person. Now that she doesn't like you wholeheartedly, of course she will give you the cold shoulder if you don't see her for a few days. This kind of behavior can be considered a kind of self-protection. Lin Kai felt that 978 was right. It seemed that his previous efforts were in vain. He had to start again. To chase this kind of obedient girl who didn't have any sense of security and lacked love, he had to do it in one go. He had to ask LV Xing to help him arrange the trick of being a hero and saving the beauty. Tangua heard the conversation between Lin Kai and 978 and smiled in her heart. She also looked forward to the other party's plan. Guogua, what do you want to say? Young Master Lin, I've been thinking a lot these past few days and I've realized that we're not suitable for each other. Tangua didn't want to maintain this uncomfortable relationship with Lin Kai. It was best to break up with him after what happened last time. This time, Lin Kai was frightened. He asked nervously, aren't we fine? Guogua, where are you dissatisfied with me? Or did someone say something in front of you? I used to be a bit of a playboy, but that's all in the past. Ever since I met you, my entire heart belongs to you. I've never been a womanizer. I've already changed. I've changed for you. How can you abandon me just like that? If you're not satisfied with me, I'll change, okay? Tangua's expression turned strange. After a moment's hesitation, she finally said, I think you're too cowardly. You're so scared that you ended up in the hospital after going to a haunted house. That's not very suitable. Lin Kai, actually, under normal circumstances, your performance that day was indeed very bad. As soon as you went in, you ran away screaming. No woman can tolerate that. 978 added, you don't have any heroic image in her heart. Now, you're nothing. Not only did you get scared, but you also took a long break because of it. It would be strange if she didn't break up with you. Lin Kai thought about it. 978 was right. That incident did leave a very bad impression on her. Guogua, that day was just an accident. Lin Kai tried to explain. Tangua looked doubtful. Was it really an accident? Do you want to go to the haunted house to play again? Seeing Lin Kai's resistance, she said, you look very scared. You're so cowardly. I suspect that if we really get together in the future and encounter something scary, you'll abandon me just like you did at the haunted house. The person I like doesn't have to be a big hero. At least, he can't be so cowardly. Chapter 50-57. Guogua, that won't happen again. I promise that what happened before was just an accident. I'm definitely not a coward, but... Tangua continued, but what? You might not believe it, but there are unclean things in that haunted house. I didn't run away for no reason, but I saw someone chasing me with a knife. At that time, I felt like I was there, so I could only choose to run. When Lin Kai spoke, his face was full of grievance and some fear, trying to win Tangua's sympathy. He found that Tangua was indeed silent, and his heart was relieved. If you don't believe me, let's go to another haunted house, how about that? Lin Kai said ingratiatingly, you can't be so heartless and not give me any chance to make up for it, right? Lin Kai thought in his heart that Tang Guo did not seem to have much feelings for him. Perhaps it was only because of his previous pursuit that she agreed to be his girlfriend. If he wanted the other party to fall in love with him wholeheartedly, he needed to go through some things. He decided that when he went back today, he would discuss with Lu Xing and arrange the scene of the hero saving the beauty as soon as possible. At that time, he would have to use the trick of injuring himself to gain the sympathy of those gangsters and let them beat him up. Okay, I'll give you another chance. Tang Guo seemed to have thought about it carefully. I don't want to go to the haunted house anymore. I remember that there is a roller coaster in the haunted house. Let's go there. Okay, when do we go? Can we go tomorrow? Tang Guo agreed. Let's go tomorrow. We won't have dinner tonight. Tang Guo opened the car door and walked back to the flower shop. Lin Kai looked at her ruthless back, and his face was a little ugly. She's so heartless. She wants to break up with me because I'm a coward. It's mainly because you were so scared that you directly abandoned her and ran away. She chose the roller coaster, which is actually to your advantage. Even if you are a little scared, you won't abandon her and run away. That's true. I'm not afraid of the roller coaster. I've been on this thing with many people before. Don't worry, this is not a haunted house. There won't be any problems. When Tang Guo returned to the flower shop, Zhou Lingwei looked at her in surprise. She also looked at Lin Kai's car outside. Boss, why are you back? I don't plan to eat today. Boss, is there a problem with your relationship with young Master Lin? Tang Guo remembered that Zhou Lingwei was Lin Kai's mouthpiece and said, yes, he's too cowardly. The last time we went to the haunted house to play, he made a big fuss and ran away without caring about me. I plan to break up with him. Zhou Lingwei's eyes widened. It couldn't be. Young Master Lin was tall and muscular. How could he be scared by the fake things inside the haunted house? No wonder her boss wanted to break up with her. If she had such a boyfriend who ran away without caring about her, she would want to break up with him too. Of course, this boyfriend was rich. For someone like young Master Lin, she wouldn't break up with him. Instead, she would comfort and protect him. She wasn't the boss. She didn't lack money. She didn't have the ability to earn so much money. Of course, she wouldn't let go of a rich boyfriend. Tang Guo didn't plan to fire Zhou Lingwei. With her around, it was good enough that she could pass the wrong message to Lin Kai. The next day, Lin Kai came to Tang Guo's house early in the morning. This time, Tang Guo didn't make things difficult for him. She went downstairs 10 minutes later. This time, she didn't give Lin Kai coffee. Instead, she gave him a carton of milk. Lin Kai drank it in 2 gulps in front of Tang Guo. He even threw the carton of milk into the nearby trash can. Chapter 50-58. An hour later, Tang Guo and Lin Kai arrived at the roller coaster of the amusement park. They were still a few hundred meters away from the haunted house. Lin Kai had an inexplicable fear of the haunted house. He felt that the place was not clean. Seeing so many people going there, he thought that one of them would be scared and scream like him. He was already brave enough. On the roller coaster, Lin Kai was still talking with Tang Guo about some interesting things. Tang Guo didn't show much emotion on her face. She just responded indifferently as usual. Lin Kai was not in a hurry. He had already discussed with Lu Xing that tomorrow night he would play the hero to save the beauty and injure himself to gain her confidence. He believed that any woman would be moved by a man who was willing to sacrifice his life for her. The roller coaster slowly moved forward. As the speed increased, Lin Kai couldn't speak anymore. He turned his head to look at Tanghua. As soon as he saw her, he felt very uncomfortable. The reason for that was because the person sitting beside him was not Tanghua. Instead, it was a badly mutilated person. He screamed subconsciously, and then something even more terrible happened. The roller coaster slowed down. He could gradually see the scene in front of him clearly. He found that the originally brand new roller coaster and the surrounding facilities not only looked old but also rusty. Especially the roller coaster, it made creaking sounds as if the machine had not been used for a long time. He could also see the big wheel in the distance, which was also full of rust. What frightened him even more was that he saw people falling off the big wheel one after another. In an instant, they were smashed into a pile of mud. At that moment, Lin Kai's face turned pale. Not only that, but he also vomited. This was even more terrible than what he had seen in the haunted house. Was it because there was something unclean in this place that he shouldn't have come to? Lin Kai tried to calm down, but something more terrible happened. People were falling off the roller coaster he was on. The people on the roller coaster screamed and cried in fear, which made Lin Kai's heart flutter. What the hell is this place? He watched as people fell down one by one, smashed into smithereens. The roller coaster was getting shorter and shorter. Soon, it would fall to him. He forgot everything. Like the others, he screamed in terror. He also forgot that he had a system. Host, are you alright? 978 found that something was wrong with Lin Kai, but no matter how he called, the other party did not respond. Tanguo looked at Lin Kai, who was so scared that his face turned pale and kept screaming. She closed her eyes slightly and enjoyed the feeling of the roller coaster running fast. When the roller coaster stopped, Lin Kai seemed to have lost half of his life. He was helped to the rest area by the staff. Miss Tang, do you need me to send your boyfriend to the hospital? Yi Tang suddenly appeared beside Tanghua. He was the one who designed this amusement park, and there were some new projects added to it recently. Of course, he had to stay here and keep an eye on them. When he saw that Tanghua and her boyfriend had come to experience the roller coaster, he couldn't help but come over. It was true that Lin Kai was not good enough. Last time, it was a haunted house. This time, it was a roller coaster. He is not my boyfriend. Tanghua denied Lin Kai's identity directly. Lin Kai was so scared that he shivered and woke up immediately. He looked at Tanghua with a pitiful face. Before he could say anything else, Tanghua cut him off. Mr. Lin, I've already said this. You're really different from how I imagined you to be. I can't force myself to have such a cowardly boyfriend who would run away from me whenever we go to a haunted house. When we ride the roller coaster, he will cry. Chapter 50-59. Luckily, there were only the three of them here. Tanghua's voice was very soft, so Lin Kai wasn't too embarrassed. You can't drive like this. I'll call a car to send you to the hospital. I don't think there's a need to force this kind of activity that doesn't suit you. Tanghua didn't give Lin Kai a chance to speak. Didn't Yi Tang say that he would call someone to send Lin Kai to the hospital? Yi Tang was very willing to help. He quickly took out his walkie-talkie and called a worker over to take Lin Kai away. Miss Tang, do you want to experience our other activities, or do you plan to go home? Yi Tang asked. Tanghua shook her head. I'm not in the mood anymore. Oh, then did you drive here? Actually, Yi Tang knew that Tanghua didn't drive. She took Lin Kai's car. No. I've really given you guys a bad experience today. How about I send you home? Yi Tang took the opportunity to say. System, this kid is very smart. He should be happy now. Actually, he suspected that the host did it on purpose to give Yi Tang a chance to send her home. Then I'll have to trouble you. Halfway there, Tang Guo said, can you send me to the flower shop first? My cat is still in the shop. Of course. Yi Tang didn't find it troublesome at all. Miss Tang actually runs a flower shop. It's just for fun. I like to live in places with flowers everywhere. That's true. Looking at flowers makes your mood much better, Yi Tang added. System, scheming host, aren't you just exposing your location to the other party? Yet, this man was still so smug about it, thinking that he had obtained more information about her. The host's method of flirting with that guy was really skillful. Lin Yikai was sent to the hospital. When he went through various tests, he kept asking 978 in his heart, why is it like this? You might have touched some dirty things in the haunted house. Host, the other party is very strange. It's best if you don't go. You can't do anything about it. It can't be helped. You haven't completed a single mission, so you can't get any points. If you have points, you can exchange them for evil warding talismans that can suppress those unclean things. Lin Yikai was speechless. Guoguo broke up with me. Things are much worse than before. If I had known, I wouldn't have suggested going to the haunted house, and there wouldn't have been so much trouble. After the checkup, Lin Yikai was discharged from the hospital as there was nothing wrong with his body. For tomorrow night's matter, he still planned to proceed according to the original plan. They had just broken up, and there was still lingering warmth. He was afraid that if he waited for a while longer, Tang Guo would really not like him at all. Did Miss Tang really choose to break up with him? Love isn't child's play, Yi Tang suddenly said downstairs in Tang Guo's house. In fact, his words were somewhat hypocritical. He just wanted to confirm whether Tang Guo was real or not. If she was very resolute, it meant that Tang Guo did not like Lin Yikai that much, and he would have a chance. It's true that we're not suitable for each other. When we were together before, I couldn't stand his coaxing and pestering. Now I realize that we are not suitable for each other at all. Alright, thank you for sending me home. I'll go up first. Goodbye. Yi Tang didn't say anything else. There would be a lot of time for them to meet in the future. She was single now. Coincidentally, he was also single. The next day, at around 6:00 in the afternoon, Tang Guo was reading a book when a few noisy voices suddenly came from outside. Sir, you really made a mistake. The flowers in your hands were definitely not bought from us. Zhou Lingwei tried to explain, but the person who came was tall and strong. He looked especially terrifying. There were even tattoos on his arms. The tattoos bulged along with his muscles. It was especially frightening. I don't care. I remember that I bought it from you guys. You guys actually sold me this kind of trash. My boss's pursuit of a girlfriend is ruined. You have to take responsibility. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, Transmigration, Female Supporting Lead, Calm Down. Chapters will continue to be updated in the handwriting bar. There are no advertisements on the website, so please bookmark and recommend the handwriting bar. Like to wear fast, supporting female lead, calm down, please collect, wear fast, supporting female lead, calm down, fight bar updates the fastest. Chapter 50-60. What's going on? Of course, Tang Guo knew that Lin Yikai's men were here. She cooperated and walked out to ask Zhou Lingwei why those hooligans were making a ruckus outside. Zhou Lingwei's expression was ugly. Boss, these people are holding a bouquet of flowers and insist that they bought it from us. She walked in front of Tang Guo and lowered her voice. They're most likely here to cause trouble. Got it. You can go to the side. I'll do it. Although Tang Guo said so, Zhou Lingwei didn't do as she was told. She was a person who pursued money and fame, and she was also a smart person. At this time, she couldn't really listen to Tang Guo and avoid these hooligans. She thought that doing so would make the boss think that she was afraid of trouble. If she could stand by the boss's side today, her impression of her would definitely be better. Tang Guo was too lazy to care about these little tricks. As long as they didn't make a big mistake, didn't harm others, and didn't commit a crime, no matter what they did, it was her pursuit. Gentlemen, can you show me the flowers in your hands? Tang Guo asked. When the hooligans heard this, they immediately handed the flowers to Tang Guo. Tang Guo looked around. The quality of this flower shop was indeed not good. The flowers inside were very loose, and the petals would fall together with a slight shake. She didn't need to look much to know that these flowers couldn't be from her shop. This bouquet of flowers isn't from my shop. You must have remembered wrongly. Tang Guo handed the flowers back. Just as she finished speaking, the hooligans in front of her became agitated. They looked at her with fierce eyes and said impulsively, "Boss, this is your fault. It's clearly your flowers that have a problem. Why don't you admit it? I bought it from you. How could I remember wrongly? You clearly don't want to admit it and don't want to take responsibility. Brother, don't talk nonsense with this woman. This is a black-hearted boss, a profiteer. In my opinion, it's her bad luck that she met us today. If she had a better attitude, admitted her mistake, and compensated for our losses, then everything would be fine. In the end, she refused to admit it. Against such a black-hearted merchant, smash it for me." The one who spoke was obviously the leader of the hooligans. As soon as he finished speaking, several hooligans around him began to move. Rushing into the flower shop, he grabbed the delicate and beautiful flowers and smashed them to the ground. Then, he stomped on them twice. Things happened too quickly. By the time Zhou Lingwei reacted, she subconsciously screamed and shouted, "Why are you people so unreasonable? The flowers you took are not from our shop. Don't smash it. Don't smash it. Boss, what should we do?" Zhou Lingwei was about to cry. She asked Tang Guo anxiously, as if she had smashed her own flowers. She was very distressed. Zhou Lingwei's heart ached for these flowers. After all, she was the one who took care of them every day. There was also such a good place to work. If she lost her job because of this, how could she not be sad? Call the police. Right, boss, let's call the police. Tang Guo seemed to have just reacted. She nodded lightly, and, hurry up and call the police. Someone had already discovered Zhou Lingwei and Tang Guo's conversation. Hearing that they were going to call the police, a hooligan rushed over, scaring Zhou Lingwei into screaming. Call the police. Hand over your phone. Zhou Lingwei covered her phone, unwilling to hand it over. The hooligan fiercely picked up a stool and was about to smash it on her. Tang Guo hurriedly said, "Give it to him." Only then did Zhou Lingwei give the phone to the hooligan. She was so scared that tears came out. She kept crying. Chapter 50-61. Tang Guo didn't expect Zhou Lingwei to have such a personality. Although she was a little snobbish and selfish, there wasn't anything wrong with her. At least at this critical moment, she didn't run away. This was already very rare. It could be seen that Zhou Lingwei really cherished those flowers and plants. Otherwise, she wouldn't take care of them every day. Boss, what should we do? If this goes on, all the flowers will be smashed by them. These are all my hard work. Zhou Lingwei cried beside Tang Guo. She cried very sadly. She even secretly asked Tang Guo, "Boss, with such a big loss, can this shop still be open?" If it couldn't be open, then she would lose her job. If she had known, she would have called the police immediately. Perhaps she would have had some leeway. Tangwa didn't know what to say. At this time, she was still worried about whether or not the flower shop could continue. Let them smash it. It's not that big of a loss, Tangwa said softly. When Zhou Lingwei heard this, she stopped crying. Her tears immediately stopped. Can we really continue? Yes. Zhou Lingwei wiped her tears and said, "Boss, we have to keep the surveillance footage well. Once they leave, we'll call the police. I just memorized their license plate number. Also, I remember what they look like. I also know how to sketch, so I should be able to draw them. You want to run after smashing a little?" Impossible. Just as Zhou Lingwei was still thinking about whether or not these delinquents would compensate Tang Guo for her loss, a voice sounded from outside. "Guo Guo, what's going on here?" It was Lin Kai. Before Tang Guo could say anything, Zhou Lingwei hurriedly shouted, "Young Master Lin, these delinquents don't know what's right and wrong. They directly entered the shop and smashed things. They even stole my phone. What are you doing?" Lin Kai shouted at the delinquents. They stopped and looked at Lin Kai. Then they continued to smash things. They didn't care about him at all. Lin Kai walked a few steps over. "I'm asking you what you're doing. Hurry up and get out. Kid, do you want to die? Hurry up and scram. Don't disturb Brother Biao's work." The gangster pushed Lin Kai, and Lin Kai also pushed the gangster. It was as if sparks were flying between the two sides, and a spark was ignited. "Brother, this brat is courting death. He'll be obedient after a beating." Several punks stopped smashing flowers, but surrounded Lin Kai in the middle, punching and kicking him. In the first place, they were in cahoots with Lin Kai. All they needed to do was play the hero saving the damsel in distress trick. What was a hero saving a damsel in distress? That was, Lin Kai had to defeat them. What do you mean by a ruse of self-injury? Even though Lin Kai had defeated them, he had also been beaten and injured. Therefore, these people punched Lin Kai a few times, and Lin Kai suppressed them and defeated them. But when Lin Kai was being beaten, the scene in his vision suddenly changed. It was no longer the flower shop, but a gloomy and terrifying place. This place was Tangwa's flower shop. How could she set up an illusion here? She didn't need to feed Lin Kai anything to eat. Now, Lin Kai wasn't facing a few delinquents, but some evil spirits. They were here to take his life. His mind was clear that this should be an illusion. He didn't want to pay attention to it, but he soon realized that something was wrong. When those evil spirits bit him, he actually felt pain. In just a few moves, they were beaten to the point where they couldn't fight back. Tang Guo handed the cloth to Yi Tang. "Tie them up." Yi Tang nodded slightly and did as he was told. Just like that, all the hooligans were tied up. Lin Kai's head was hit by a hooligan, and now he was semi-unconscious. He only knew that the evil spirit had been subdued, and he had won this time. When the police arrived, the scene was already unsightly. Several hooligans were restrained, and their bodies were bitten by Lin Kai. Lin Kai was the most miserable. 2 of his front teeth were knocked out, his leg was fractured, and a vase was hit on his head. He was directly dragged to the hospital by the ambulance. The scene was a mess. Tang Guo and the others were asked to record their statements. Chapter 5063. As she was being dragged to the police station, Zhou Lingwei did not forget to remind the police to take a copy of the store's CCTV. After the statement was recorded, Yi Tang sent Tanguo back to the store. Zhou Lingwei saw the state of the store and couldn't help but tear up. Those hooligans were too evil. Call 2 people to clean it up, Tanguo said to Zhou Lingwei. Clean up the store for the next few days and open for business next week. Zhou Lingwei immediately stopped being sad. Boss, can we still open? Yes, we can. Zhou Lingwei sobbed, we've lost so much. Boss, don't force yourself. Yi Tang laughed to the side. This was the heiress of the Tang Corps. Not to mention one store being destroyed, even if 10 or 100 stores were destroyed, they could still afford the loss. Don't worry. Hurry and call someone to clean it up. Then, go home and rest. After receiving Tanguo's affirmation, Zhou Lingwei was no longer sad. Instead, she became more energetic. Today, she had gone through thick and thin with her boss. Why did those hooligans cause trouble in your store? Yi Tang asked casually as he sent Tanguo to the hospital. In reality, he could feel that Tanguo wasn't particularly angry about the store being destroyed. In fact, she seemed very calm. They brought a bouquet of flowers over and said that the flowers weren't good and caused their boss to fail in his pursuit of his girlfriend. So, they came looking for trouble. Then, they attacked my store. Then, what happened to Mr. Lin? He must have been passing by and saw someone destroying the store. As soon as he came up, he got into a fight with them. I didn't even have time to stop them. If they destroyed the store, then so be it. If they secretly called the police, they just had to fight with them. Losing those things is better than being beaten up. Mr. Lin's condition doesn't seem right, Yi Tang said. It's not the first time. Previously, I saw that his expression was very strange and fierce. It was like he had a deep grudge against those hooligans. In a while, at the hospital, I think I should remind the Lin family if they want to do a mental check on Mr. Lin. Tanguo really hated Lin Yikai. Today, he was beaten up and sent to the hospital. It was all because of her flower shop. Therefore, she had to find a way to let the plan of Lin Yikai and his friend Elvishing be known. At that time, she would have no reason to be grateful to them. Even if the Lin family knew it, they wouldn't dare to kidnap her. When Tanguo arrived at the hospital, the Lin family was already waiting there. Seeing Tanguo's face. Lin's mother. She walked up to Tanguo and asked, and his leg. Lin Miao Miao glared at Tanguo hatefully. My brother is really unlucky. He got into trouble in your flower shop and got his retribution. Although Mr. Lin didn't say anything, it was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with Tanguo. He didn't even look at her. Tanguo just said sorry, but the Lin family was not satisfied with her attitude. Just when they were about to say something, Tanguo's cell phone rang. She was standing next to Mrs. Lin and Lin Miao Miao. Seeing her looking at her cell phone, their expressions changed and they secretly looked at her cell phone. But before Tanguo could read the content sent by a strange number, a caller ID appeared. Tanguo picked it up at once and a male voice sounded. Miss Tang, what you thought was a hero saving a beauty is just a trick. I sent you something that you should be interested in. Chapter 50-64. Not only did Tanguo hear this sentence, but also Mother Lin and Lin Miao Miao, who were standing beside her, heard it too. The phone had been hung up. Tanguo opened the previous folder again. After opening it, she found that there were videos inside. She clicked on the video directly. Mother Lin and Lin Miao Miao's curiosity was aroused and they also glanced at her phone. It was quiet here. Tanguo didn't play the video loudly, so everyone might hear it. The first video was when Elvishing gave Lin Yikai a bad idea. The second video was when Lin Yikai urged LV Xing to arrange people quickly. The third video was when LV Xing met Lin Yikai with a few gangsters. The three videos, together with the voices in them, were enough to prove that today's scene was all a scheme. It was just Lin Yikai and Lu Xing's plan to play the hero to save the damsel in distress. However, for some reason, it was a little too much. After watching the video, Tang Guo's eyes fell on the three members of the Lin family. The three members of the Lin family now only felt that their faces were burning. They complained in their hearts that they didn't know who their opponent was. How could he play such a trick on Lin Yikai? I didn't expect Mr. Lin to be such a person. Tang Guo put away her phone. I don't think I need to stay here any longer. When Mr. Lin comes out, please tell him that we have already ended our relationship. Please don't bother to do this kind of thing, lest the consequences of today's incident happen again. In addition, I don't like to be deceived, especially this kind of scheme. At this moment, no matter what Tang Guo said, the Lin family didn't say a word. They just wanted to cover their heads with a fig leaf. If Lin Yikai just helped to get injured, they could stand on the moral high ground and blame Tang Guo however they wanted. Now the truth was out. It was obvious that Lin Yikai conspired with others. What position could they stand on? This accident was obviously caused by Lin Yikai himself. Tang Guo turned to leave, and Yi Tang hurriedly followed her. Please take me to the police station. Of course, no problem. Yi Tang also did not expect that Lin Yikai would actually do this. But on second thought, what kind of person was Lin Yikai? It wasn't strange at all for someone who would do anything to achieve their goals. The person who sent the video to Tang Guo wasn't a match for the Lin family. He just didn't like Lin Yikai. When they arrived at the police station, Tang Guo handed all the videos to the police. The police officers looked at each other and quickly copied the video. In the end, this was Lin Yikai's doing. Tang Guo had already returned home. According to her estimation, Lin Yikai should be out of the operating room. Not long after, Lin Yikai woke up. He did not know that the weather outside had changed. He was still expecting Tang Guo to throw herself into his arms with tears in her eyes. He thought that no matter whether he had met an evil ghost or not, Tang Guo would definitely be moved by his serious injury. However, when he opened his eyes, he found that the Lin family was all in the ward. He glanced around but didn't see Tang Guo. Dad, Mom, where is Guo Guo? Didn't she come with you? Is she still in the police station? When he was in a daze, he heard the sound of the alarm, so he said this. Mr. and Mrs. Lin's expressions were complicated. Lin Miao Miao didn't know what to say. She was so embarrassed today. Dad, Mom, where is Guo Guo? Could something have happened to her? Mrs. Lin said angrily, what can happen to her? She's fine. Then, Father Lin interrupted Lin Yikai's words and said with a sullen face, are you hoping that she'll stay by your bedside and be so touched that she'll jump into your arms with tears in her eyes and be loyal to you from then on? Not only that, but the police also came to ask him about the situation. The next day, Tang Guo sent someone to look for Lin Yikai and ask him to compensate for the loss of the flower shop. The news of Lin Yikai looking for gangsters spread in the circle. For a while, it was a joke. Tang Guo continued to run her flower shop and maintained the same life as before. However, in her flower shop, there was a customer who came to buy flowers on time every day. Yi Tang bought flowers for half a month. Every time, he would greet Tang Guo, but she didn't ask him who he was buying flowers for. He was very distressed. Peak. What's the new project you mentioned? Yi Tang knew that Tang Guo had agreed. This was all thanks to Lin Kai. You'll know when you get there. It's on the water. In the end, he added, if young Master Lin is interested, you can come with us. This project isn't scary at all. Lin Kai was so angry that his mouth was about to go crooked. This sentence was extremely insulting. Speaking of which, Yi Tang was there when he made a fool of himself twice. There's nothing to say between us. Young Master Lin, I'll go my own way. I hope you won't disturb my life again. In the face of Tanggua's resolute words, Lin Kai had nothing to say. He couldn't force her, right? Even if he forced her, he wouldn't be able to get her heart, and the mission would still fail. Moreover, other things would probably happen. He could only watch as Tanggua and Yi Tang left. The two of them were still talking and laughing. Peak. Chapter 50-67. By the way, young Master Lin, I want to remind you that you should go for a mental checkup. Tanggua walked 2 steps and suddenly remembered something. She turned back and said to Lin Kai, I've seen your situation 3 times. You looked ferocious every time as if you saw something strange. I don't think it's normal. It's like a mental illness. Lin Kai wanted to shout that he was not sick. But when the words came to his mouth, he remembered his recent abnormal situation and was confused. At that time, he was the only one who had the problem. Even 978 didn't notice anything. Could it be that there was really something wrong with his mental state? The first time, he treated the staff as murderers and the props in the haunted house as corpses. The second time, he was on a roller coaster. He thought it was an abandoned roller coaster and people kept dying. The third time, he was in Tanggua's flower shop. He thought he was surrounded by evil spirits. Lin Kai stood there and felt conflicted. He quickly shook his head. No, impossible. How could he be sick? It was absolutely impossible. He thought that there was something unclean on his body, so he should go to the temple to pray. Lin Kai didn't take Tanggua's words seriously. He came to find Tanggua a few times later, but it was to no avail. Then my mission in this world is considered a failure. Even if the system injected feelings, the mission didn't make much progress. In addition, the relationship between Tanggua and Yi Tang had been developing rapidly recently. Lin Kai didn't have much patience to continue doing that thing. Injecting feelings was one thing, but whether or not he would be loyal to a person and keep his chastity was another thing. Looks like it's hopeless. He's already past the stage where he's easy to fool. Now that he has a good and clean Yi Tang by his side, it'd be strange if he'd like you. You're a scumbag and a second-generation rich kid. To be honest, other than being a scumbag, you can't compare to Yi Tang in any way. Looks can't compare, height can't compare, wealth can't compare, IQ can't compare. Okay, that's enough. Who's your host? Since you can't compare, then forget it. See you in the next world. Why don't you send me to the next world? Are you dreaming? I'll even send you to the next world. Don't you want energy? You haven't even completed your mission, how am I supposed to send you to the next world? You're here to change the life of a scumbag. Now, you have to live through this life before you can leave. That was really a painful thing. Lin Kai rubbed his head. Forget about the female fever. I'm afraid I'll get the same disease as I did in my previous life. Let's do something else. Thinking of this, Lin Kai suddenly had an idea. Since I can't get her heart, I don't want Yi Tang to have an easy time. Anyway, I know the opportunity. Why don't I destroy the Yi family and make the Yi guys suffer? He's indeed a scumbag. Even if he can't get her, he can't bear to see others suffer. Okay, you can't get her heart anyway. Do whatever you want. Let me tell you first, you only have 3 chances. If you fail the next 2 times, you won't have another chance. I know. I'll definitely complete the mission seriously in the next world. I guarantee that the woman who likes me will like me again and be loyal to me. The 2 of us will live happily together for the rest of our lives. Is that okay? Peek. Chapter 5068. Dear host, Lin Yikai seems to be planning to turn over a new leaf. He is currently learning from his father in the Lin group. During this period, he proposed several good profit plans and won the praise of the company's senior management. I think this guy's purpose is not pure and may be harmful to the Yi family. Has he been doing anything recently? Yes, he won't be absent from the recent business reception. This guy wants to get the power of the company as soon as possible so that he can make a move on the Yi family. After learning that Lin Yikai would not be absent from the business reception, Tang Guo found the manager of the Tang group and asked for the entry qualification of the reception. She was present at a recent cocktail party. Yi Tang was also there that day. He didn't expect that Tang Guo would come, so he ignored everything and followed her like a bodyguard. Tang Guo's arrival did attract many people's attention. They were all speculating whether the only person left in the Tang group was going to come out of retirement. Tang Guo didn't have that plan. She just came to see Lin Yikai, but he was dishonest again, so she could only plot to send him to the mental hospital for treatment. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? Otherwise, I would have picked you up. Yi Tang said. Tang Guo, it was a last-minute decision. I just wanted to come and have a look. I didn't want to do anything. I've been living a quiet life, so I wanted to come and join in the fun. Yi Tang didn't think much about it. Since Tang Guo could come here and didn't refuse to stay with him, it meant that he had succeeded. The 2 chatted, and not long after, Lin Yikai also came. The 4 members of the Lin family all came. As soon as Lin Yikai walked in, he saw Tang Guo and Yi Tang. Lin Miao Miao's eyes fell on Yi Tang first. Young Master Yi. How many women in the circle were not tempted? Although Tang Guo was able to sit here calmly, in fact, there were already many pairs of fiery eyes falling on her. But she didn't care. No matter how long they stared, it was useless. As long as they didn't provoke her, it didn't matter. She's looking at you. Tang Guo found Lin Miao Miao's infatuated eyes. You're too attractive. Yi Tang revealed a very innocent look. There was nothing he could do when others looked at him. He couldn't possibly go over and say fiercely that others were not allowed to look at him. The only thing he could do was to turn a blind eye and ignore it. Lin Yikai still walked towards Tang Guo. To be exact, he walked towards Yi Tang. Young Master Yi, you're in a good mood. Young Master Lin, Yi Tang replied calmly. Lin Miao Miao hurried over and greeted Yi Tang warmly. Young Master Yi, I didn't expect you to come too. Hello, Miss Lin. At this time, the music just sounded and Lin Miao Miao said boldly, Young Master Yi, are you interested in dancing? My apologies. Yi Tang refused without hesitation. Other than my mother and my girlfriend, I don't dance with other women. Lin Miao Miao was a little embarrassed. She smiled and couldn't help glaring at Tang Guo, who was sitting aside. Yi Tang knew that he had made Tang Guo hate him, but he was really innocent. He couldn't refuse, could he? Beautiful lady, do you want to dance? Yi Tang reached out to Tang Guo. Tang Guo patted his hand and said, I don't want to dance. Well, tell me when you want to dance. Lin Miao Miao's smile stiffened and she glared at Tang Guo again. Yi Tang felt very guilty about this. He felt that no matter what he did, he would make Tang Guo hate him. But he couldn't hide his feelings because of others, could he? Miss Lin's eyes are uncomfortable. Why don't you go to the hospital? Yi Tang said straightforwardly. Don't stand here and stare at his girlfriend all the time. At the top. Chapter 5069. Lin Miao Miao was pissed off by Yi Tang. Tang Guo couldn't help glaring at Yi Tang. Yi Tang whispered in her ear, "You don't dance with me, but you can't stop me from showing my love for you. I already have a lot of enemies." Tang Guo pushed him to the side, completely treating the Lin siblings as if they were air. "I'll protect you. If you're afraid of living alone, I can move in with you. You can also move in with me." Yi Tang said shamelessly, "I'll send you to work and pick you up from work. If you are afraid that the flower shop will be smashed again, I will hire 2 bodyguards for you." When Lin Yikai heard this, he was so angry that his mouth almost went crooked. He really regretted that he decided to take Tang Guo to the haunted house. If he didn't go to the haunted house, he wouldn't be contaminated by dirty things, wouldn't leave a bad impression on Tang Guo, and wouldn't run into Yi Tang, the shameless guy. This shameless guy actually took advantage of the situation, leaving him no chance at all. Yi Tang, right? Just you wait. If I, Lin Yikai, don't make your Lin family bankrupt in this lifetime, then my surname is not Lin. Yi Tang suddenly felt an uncomfortable aura coming from Lin Yikai's body, and he frowned slightly. He was not surprised. It was normal for Lin Yikai to be hostile to him. Tang Guo came here for business today. She had been paying attention to the waiter who served the wine. Seeing that she was about to finish the wine, she waved to him. Seeing that there were 4 people here, the waiter brought 4 glasses of wine over. Tang Guo picked up a glass and handed it to Yi Tang, asking casually, "Mr. Lin, Miss Lin, do you want it?" "No, I don't like drinking. I drink soft drinks." Lin Miao Miao replied quickly. "She almost died just now." "Mr. Lin, do you want it?" Tang Guo asked again. Lin Yikai didn't refuse. He nodded gently, and Tang Guo handed him a glass. Lin Yikai certainly liked Tang Guo, so it was difficult for him to refuse her. Tang Guo successfully took a glass for herself and drank slowly. Lin Yikai came here today to talk about something. After drinking the wine, he went to find his target. 10 minutes later, Tang Guo heard a scream and the sound of a glass breaking in a certain direction. Some voices came to her intermittently. "Mr. Lin is crazy." Mr. Lin suddenly went crazy and beat President Zhang. He overturned the table and hit President Zhang's head with a wine bottle. God, it's so scary. If it weren't for the waiter, Mr. Zhang's head would Tess head. Yi Tang looked at Tang Guo. Does he really have a mental illness? Maybe. Including this time, I've seen him have had 4 outbursts. When Tang Guo said this, Lin Miao Miao happened to pass by her in a hurry. Hearing her words, Lin Miao Miao glared at her again. "Miss Lin, I advise you to take Mr. Lin to have a checkup when you have time. He has had 4 outbursts." Lin Miao Miao didn't glare at Tang Guo this time. She had some doubts in her heart. Was her brother really mentally ill? No matter whether it was true or not, today's matter was serious. The cooperation was absolutely ruined, and President Zhang was completely offended. There was no chance for cooperation in the future. Lin Yikai had been going crazy. In the end, he was tied up by many waiters and sent to the hospital. Now, without Lin Miao Miao's reminder, everyone knew that he had a mental problem. The Lin family had to take him to have a checkup. But everything was normal. But after that, Lin Yikai had several outbursts at home. He often punched and kicked the people around him. He even pushed Lin Yikai down the stairs. Mr. Lin was almost beaten by Lin Yikai. In the end, the Lin family decided to send Lin Ikai to a mental hospital. That day, Lin Ikai shouted that he was not sick. But who would believe him? I'm really not sick. Why don't those people believe me? In the mental hospital, Lin Ikai broke down and said loudly, 978, I'm really not sick. The nurse beside him was used to it and didn't ask who he was talking to. Really? 978 asked with uncertainty. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.